I was like, you didn't do it. You didn't just delete my game. And they make it so easy. It's like, you want to delete it? Okay, deleted. I was like,
yeah.
Like my heart sank, and I just took his Game Boy, and I was like, fuck your Game Boy.
This week on The Condition, we're talking about Pokemon. With the release of X and Y this month, we thought it was the perfect time to go back and remember our first encounter with Nintendo's popular RPG. As soon as the history lessons are over, though, we jump right into Pokemon X and Y. And we go deep. Real deep. I'm Tyler Culp. You're listening to The Condition, a brand new podcast about video games. We hope you enjoy it. Joining me for the show, as always, is Andrew Esposito and Williams Pellegrin. So what was your guys' first experience with Pokemon?
My first experience with Pokemon was actually an interesting one, and one that I think is really unique and others might not have had. So 1998 rolls around, I get Pokemon Blue, the first one to come out, and what happened was
They didn't all come out at the same time?
No, they did. They did.
Wait, which ones? Pokemon Blue and Yellow and Red?
No, Blue and Red came out at the same time.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Okay.
1998, and then so my cousin used Game Shark because he was a big fat cheat, and he had like a level 100 Magmar, but for some reason the Game Shark wouldn't give him any of the starters. Ooh. So I just chose Charmander as my starter, but then immediately, you know, when you're able to trade at that first Pokemon Center, I traded my Charmander for a level 100 Magmar. So my starting Pokemon was a level 100 Magmar. And
he didn't obey you, right?
No, exactly. That was what was so fun about it. Like, you know, I have this level 100 Magmar, and I'm going up against Brock. And I'm generally worried I might lose because I start the match, and it's like, your Magmar hates you. He fell asleep. And he's sleeping for like 8 turns, and then I'll wake up, and he's like, Magmar's confused. I was like, why are you confused?
You had a horrible beginning with Pokemon.
It's kind of like in the show, it's not the Elite Four, but it's like the championship.
Where Magmar falls asleep? That was a good episode.
Oh,
well, no, he does. Charizard.
Richie.
Yeah, Charizard falls asleep because Charizard, Richie sends out Blastoise, and it's like Charizard versus Blastoise. So Charizard's like, this is a good fight for me because, you know, I'm fire and Blastoise is water. And he does it, and then Charizard beats him, and then Richie sends out his Pikachu, and Charizard's like, whoa, I'm way too good for this. And he falls asleep, and Ash loses because that's his last Pokemon.
Oh, I do remember that.
Too. Like, he was crying.
I was like, what are you doing, Charizard?
I didn't really watch the show that much.
I wanted to just stab him through the television. I was like, Charizard, what are you doing? I was like, I just watched 8,000 episodes to get him. You fall asleep? I was like, I'm never going to watch the show when it goes to season 2. I want you to win now.
How did he get a Charizard? I don't remember.
He had Charmander.
He had Charmander, then it evolved into Charmander.
So it evolved and everything, but it still didn't obey him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, no, it's not
so it's arbitrary.
It's not that it didn't obey him. It's that Charizard, the whole time he had his Charizard, was, I'm tough guy Charizard. So when he fought that Magmar for the 7th badge, that was a great episode. Because
that was really good.
And then, you know, we always thought that he was a hard ass, and then he falls asleep on him, but then, interestingly enough, right after the championship is the movie, the first movie, and there's a good scene in the first Pokemon movie where, like, the bond really forms when Charizard fights Mewtwo, and he's just getting his ass kicked the whole time, but he never, like, you know, he keeps doing it, and he, like, never gives up, and, like, Ash and him become bros, and you're like, we're bros again! And then he leaves him on an island, and like 3 seasons later, he's like, Charizard, I'm gonna leave you now. Man, they always tried to do that. Like, there was the one where he tries to leave Pikachu. He's like, Pikachu, you can't come with me anymore. And they have the really emotional song.
Airbud.
Oh, it's like, remake. The time has come. I was like, oh my god, here comes the waterworks. But a level 100 Magmar. But no, you said before I went off on that tangent that it was a bad experience, but I loved it. Because slowly but surely, you know, this Magmar and I, you know, we became friends, and it sounds weird, but I was able to, like...
It really does.
You know, I was like, okay, I know what you're going to do. You know, you're going to fall asleep for 8 turns, so let's be ready for that. But then once you get that 8th badge, that Giovanni badge, I was like, sup, bro?
But your concept of, like, the battles must have been really boring.
Yeah.
Well, no, obviously I caught other Pokemon, and... I did that way.
Yeah, see, when I played originally, I never, I caught other Pokemon occasionally, but I just leveled one of them.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people did, and then, you know, you get to the Elite Four, and usually you're okay. but my Pokemon philosophy has changed drastically. The original one, it was, when the original one came out, I was 8. So the philosophy was, I want to beat this game. That's a great accomplishment. Get all 8 badges, beat the Elite Four, and beat Gary, or Green, or whatever your rival was. And I was like, I did it, and I was happy. I was like, this is awesome. Then Silver and Gold came out, and I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I want to complete the Pokedex. I mean, that's my mission for this one. And,
Right.
I played it for a long time, and I did it. Ruby and Sapphire came down, and I was like, I really want to focus on battles now. So I want to, build my Pokemon a certain way and be a good trainer. And then I only played Diamond and Pearl a little bit. I didn't really get big into it. And then Black and White, I really just played it for the story. I didn't focus on anything. But now with X, it's kind of like an amalgamation of all those things. Like, I'm excited to get through the game again and, get the badges and be the other 4. I want to fill the Pokedex because that's a big challenge to get all 700 Pokemon. And I'm really focusing on my battle. I've talked about Will about this a lot, but I'm really focusing on duality of Pokemon. So, not just having a fire type Pokemon. And really what I want to do is blank element and fighting. And the game does that great because, I have a Hawlucha who's flying and fighting. My Blaziken is fire and fighting. So it's really cool that, they give you the option to do that. And, but yeah, so for my first experience of Pokemon, it was interesting and different. But Magmar to this day is one of my favorite Pokemon, maybe because of that, and maybe just because he looks funny with the butt for forehead. But yeah, ever since.
So when
since
was your
Blue.
first time actually using those beginner Pokemon, the starters?
Silver and Gold.
Oh, okay.
And I took Totodile. I think that was that generation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I took Totodile because
that's right.
Because
terrible.
Wait, was that generation? I don't
Yes,
remember.
I don't know.
It was. Yes,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
Johto. So yeah, second.
So who was the other
Yeah.
guys?
Cyndaquil
yeah,
and
Cyndaquil.
shit.
Oh, wait a second. I think I might have taken Cyndaquil.
That wasn't Mudkip, was it?
No, that's
No.
third.
Okay.
Yeah, I've gotten we're on the 6th generation of Pokemon. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
6th generation, 15 years it's been since
I don't
that
even know
original
what
game.
the water
Over
one
700
was.
Pokemon.
I know, it's crazy. I was like, and I just love the explanation. It's hey, for the game, it's Mewtwo's back because he wants to check out Mega Evolution. So I was like, what kind of story plot element is that? That Mewtwo's back.
Yeah, Mewtwo does whatever he wants.
Yeah, it's Mewtwo's back.
It's amazing that out of 700 of them, none of them are really, really similar.
No,
Other than the actual. Well, I don't know. I don't know all 700.
yes,
of them.
and
Yeah,
no. I mean,
there are quite
and
a few.
sometimes the design has gotten super lazy on some of them. One of them's just a
Oh, yeah.
sword.
Yeah, I think in what was the one for the first ones for the DS? There was one of them that was just a mushroom or something. It was a picture of
I
a
was
mushroom.
I was like,
With a
this Pokemon
name.
is just
I mean,
a
there's a
sword.
keychain for the 7th generation.
I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, this is rough. I was like, some of the designs are crazy. But yeah, that was my experience with Pokemon Blue, and then it's been a great experience ever since. I love the Pokemon games, because
You've played every one since, right?
I've played every one since. I never beat
Yeah,
I never beat Diamond and Pearl.
You're terrible.
And I really don't. I never got on the bandwagon. I got Yellow, but that was the only. I don't want to say master or Game of the Year version of Pokemon.
The blend.
But that's the only one I had, and that one was
different.
different too because you got the Pikachu, and I thought that was
Yeah,
cool.
Sure.
Yeah,
Um,
and he followed you.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and but I didn't get Emerald or the third ones. I'm sure that this one will be Z, right? I mean, that's the logical name for
Probably.
Yeah, I
because
guess
they didn't,
so, huh?
They didn't do a thing for Black and White, so we don't know.
exactly.
didn't. Yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
X2, Y2.
But Williams, what was your first experience with
Oh,
Pokemon?
It's like some dark past. Of
Oh
Will's.
god, yeah, it kind of is actually. So, I played Pokemon Red, but the one experience I remember was with Pokemon Yellow. So I brought my Game Boy Color and Pokemon Yellow to my elementary school, and back then we weren't supposed to do that. You take that out, they'll take it away from you. And so every day during lunch we would have some quiet time where we just put our heads down and just like we could sleep or whatever, but you just have to shut your mouth. And while everyone did that, I kind of snuck out my Game Boy Color and started playing Pokemon. And then some lady comes up behind me and notices me and takes my Game Boy Color away.
Whoa.
And I just start crying because
Whoa.
I thought I would get in huge trouble. And so I didn't tell my parents for like a week and a half. And when I finally, they got a call saying that they had my Game Boy Color, and that's when I just like broke down and started crying. Like, no, they took my
God,
Game Boy
this is
Color.
sad.
You grow attached, don't you? You grow attached to
Oh.
Pokemon games.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
It was my one thing because I was picked on. I was picked on as a kid, so obviously, I saw that as something awesome. So I just played that continuously. Like I remember I had like a level 60 something Pikachu, and it had an Arcanine, and all that shit was taken away from me. I'm just like, no.
Oh, that's.
I mean, I remember when I had a Game Boy Color with my Pokemon game, I would just go over to my friend's house, and our parents would think we'd play and stuff, but we just sat on the couch and played Pokemon.
I'm not a very violent person, but one time I was on the bus, and it was when I had Pokemon Yellow, and this kid, Johnny Panzarelli, I hate this kid.
Wow.
And typical Italian guy from Long Island.
Calling him out.
And he took my Game Boy and he erased my Yellow file.
Oh.
And I was like,
What a
and I wasn't thinking, so I just took his Game Boy and threw it out the bus window. And I got in so much trouble from the school.
So you're saying violence in games started with Pokemon?
I was like, but I wasn't thinking. I was like, what? I was like, you didn't do it. You didn't just delete my game. And they make it so easy. It's like, you want to delete it? Okay,
Yeah.
deleted. I was like,
Yeah.
Like my heart sank, and I just took his Game Boy, and I was like, fuck your Game Boy.
I want to say I accidentally deleted one of my saves doing that because I didn't know what that meant.
If my Pokemon
Like
X
when it
save
said
got deleted
overwrite.
right
yeah,
now,
same here.
I'd cry. I'd cry.
Did the new one still have only one save file or two maybe?
One.
Yeah, just one.
Okay, just one.
But it saves really fast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it does. That's one thing that was pretty cool.
So Tyler, we know Williams. Well, actually,
Oh,
I
yeah,
want to.
and
I
my
want to get
mom-
a. Oh, go.
Yeah, my mom came to school and picked it up for me, and I started crying more. And then I said thank you.
Well, I actually have a few questions that I want to ask you about. So Yellow was the first one.
My first one was Pokemon Red, but
So Red.
the experience I really remember was Pokemon Yellow.
Okay, and what made it like the more memorable? Because of the Pikachu, or
Yeah, I would say because of the Pikachu, and because I actually,
I mean,
had the
Pikachu kind of
patience to
was
play
the
it.
icon for Pokemon.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
at that time,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Like, big time. Pikachu was like the cute Pokemon that all the girls liked, and you constantly saw on television.
It's the one that your parents were always trying to pronounce.
Oh
Yeah.
I mean, that's an entirely different story for another day.
the real
But-
question is, what color Game Boy Color did you have? I had that bright
Yeah,
Yellow
that's a
purple
good
Game Boy
one.
question.
Color.
Yellow.
Yes,
Nice.
I had a yellow Game Boy Color and Pokemon Yellow.
Because I've
Oh.
been in the rabbit hole of video games ever since I was born. I bought the Game Boy Color at launch, and they only had that really bright
Jesus.
purple.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that was
yeah.
awful.
That was the
That's what
launch
my
Game
brother
Boy
had.
Color, and I was like, oh boy. I was like, let's tout this thing around everywhere. But it was awesome. I was like, color. It was so cool.
Yeah, it
I had a
was so
Pocket
good.
before that, too. I always buy technology way too early.
I didn't even know. Like, the Game Boy Color was the first system I actually owned that I could
Oh, really?
online. Yeah.
I had that big fat one. What was that? Is that the Pocket?
No,
The game. No, that was the original
the big
Game
fat
Boy.
one is the Pocket.
No.
No,
I guess it
Pocket
wouldn't
was
be.
awesome.
I
It
don't
was
know.
super slim, and
Yeah, it
I
really
loved
was.
Pocket. Once I had my Pocket, I
Okay.
took that thing everywhere. I had the original one too, but I didn't really take it everywhere because I had this big, it wasn't really a suitcase, but it was like a hard case that it was a
Yeah.
Game Boy, and the Game Boy fit, and then had like a rows for the games, and I took that everywhere. But once I had the Pocket, I didn't bring any of that. I just kept it in my pocket. And then when Game Boy Color came out, man, I took that everywhere too because Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 for the Game Boy Color. Oh, stop
Right.
it. So good. We
But,
were all playing that. Get the link
Is
cables
that the one you
out.
can play as Spider-Man?
Yes, get the link cables
Yeah.
out, baby. Get the link cables
Oh.
out.
Oh, link cables. I remember those.
And it's we're gonna
I had 2 Game Boys at one point where I was trading Pokemon between my.
we're gonna
my
talk
2
about
games.
Pokemon X later in
That's
the
so
show,
depressing.
but link, just the difference between link cables and online.
I know.
trading.
Yeah, you've been talking about trading over Wi-Fi or online.
Oh my
and
gosh,
like,
it's
that's blowing my
revolutionary.
mind.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember, but for Fire Red and Leaf Green, it came with that accessory where you could plug into your GBA so you could wirelessly trade back.
Yep.
That was
Right.
so awesome.
I remember
Well,
that.
the best part was
No
back
one
in the red and blue days. You had to you and your friend be like, "Hey, you ready to do this?" Of course, I'm ready. Link cable it up, and then you had to both go to the Pokemon Center, the upstairs floor of the Pokemon Center,
Yeah.
and then you had to enter into the arena, and then you both had to sit down at the table.
Yep.
And you're like,
it was so
beep,
I
beep, beep, beep,
remember
beep.
that.
Time to
It was
initiate
so
trade.
crude.
You know what's a really cool thing? Oh, we're not there yet. We're not about Wonder Trades yet, but I Wonder Trades. Oh man, it's so good.
Yeah,
it's so much fun.
We'll get there.
But
we'll get there.
Tyler, what?
Yeah, you're still cheating even today.
Yep.
It's not cheating. It's not
Yes, it
cheating.
is.
If it's in the game,
Yes,
it's
it
not
is.
cheating.
Nope. Fuck you. You're exploiting it.
But
Would you call Diablo 3, where you could just buy all the legendary weapons, cheating?
Oh no,
on the
because that's
auction
not
house.
exploitation. It's there.
and
So,
this isn't exploitation either.
It kind of is.
yes, it
though.
is. Yes, it is. Oh
How
my
is
God,
this
yes, it is.
exploitation?
Because you're basically taking people's goodwill and fucking it over.
That's
what
not
you're
true
doing.
because there are
It's
other
like,
people
hey,
that are doing it too.
Here's a good Pokemon. Let me give you a level 8 Skiddo.
Okay,
Have fun with
let's
that.
let's
bullshit.
backtrack. Let's
That is
backtrack.
bullshit.
In Pokemon X, there's a new thing called Wonder Trades, and what it is you send a random Pokemon, and somebody in the world sends you a random Pokemon. Now,
Yep.
apparently, if you decide to send them a level 8 Skiddo, and they're out of the good graces of their heart sends you a level 36 Blastoise, that's cheating, and it's not.
And it is. You're
It's not
exploiting
cheating.
it. It's like, look, they had the balls to say, here's a level 36 Blastoise. Hopefully,
But they
I
knew
get
they
something
didn't know when
good.
they
My
get back.
question
And
is,
then
my
you-
question is, how did they
you-
get that level 36 Blastoise, and why are they so happy with letting it go? I think
Well-
they're the cheaters at the end of the day, getting these kind of
No.
Pokemon. How not? Oh, come on! Somebody
Just condemning the Pokemon community.
No.
somebody sent me the a Bulbasaur, and I was like,
Okay.
nobody would give up their Bulbasaur that they get in the game. It's
Yes,
just,
they would if they don't need it. If
Okay.
they don't want it.
I don't. Okay, they would, but then it's not cheating because if I send a Pokemon, hey, somebody might be excited for a Skiddo. You know, you
No,
never know.
No.
one is excited.
Yeah, nobody's excited.
No
for
Again,
this
though,
one.
especially when-
it's
I don't know
100%
what
not
Skiddo
cheating
is.
because you're not breaking the game. You're not doing anything. You know, you're doing.
You're exploiting it.
But it's like a
bullcrap.
similar. I mean, the Diablo 3 thing I brought up because it's kind of a similar thing. Like you could buy like really really good weapons and just kind of breeze through that game. And
Well,
you shouldn't have access to those.
That's
they're
fine,
rare
but
drops.
the point is that you do have access to it, so that's not considered
And you have
cheating.
access to the Wonder Trade system as soon as you get out of the game.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah, you also have access to their goodwill, jerk.
but the
Which you
thing I was
shit
thinking
on.
is I would do one more filter and filter it by your your levels. So
Oh.
because I've gotten a lot of 50+ level Pokemon and I can't use them yet because I'm not in that part of the game where they'd obey me.
Basically the third badge. You're not that far out.
So, and I look at that, I'm like, maybe there's one more filter where they know where you are and they'll give you like lower level Pokemon so you can actually use them. But, I mean, again, somebody gave me the third evolution stage of a Froakie. Now, come on, how did he get that? I mean, breeding
Froakie
might
is
By
be.
the-
trading.
But there's,
starter.
Or training it.
yeah, it could be, and I don't know. It's awesome. Wonder
weird.
Trade's awesome. I highly recommend it. Hey, you want to send good Pokemon over? Send as
I
many
mean, what are you
good
doing?
Pokemon.
Just catching random Pokemon and just shoving them in?
Yes and no. I mean,
Basically-
now
Basically, it's just
now what I've been doing though, I have been sending better Pokemon. Like I sent an Azurill, a
So
little
now
bit.
you're being kind of generous.
It's kind of generous,
Oh.
but again, it doesn't say. There's nowhere
Did they,
in the
wait,
rules.
wait. Do they keep the nicknames?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
Oh, that could be really bad. I could abuse that.
There's no way. There's nowhere in the rule
Yeah, but
book
you
of
can change
Wonder
that.
Trading that it's like, hey man, you have to send this great. Trust me, Wonder. I call it Wonder Farming trademark.
Oh no. Okay, if we're gonna do that, no. I mean,
But
no. There are so many unwritten. Like I'll give you
But
an
when I
example.
do
There are a
Wonder
lot of-
Trading,
Okay.
Wonder Trading, it's every 8 out of 10 are fletching, skidoos, flurflows, Bidoofs. So people are doing the same thing I am, and then 2 out of 10 you're getting good guys.
Sorry.
But I've done it so many times that I've gotten good guys. But again,
Oh,
people are doing the same
no.
thing I am. There are just some people that are
Nope.
generous.
Yeah,
I-
no. There are. I'll put it to you like this: there are unwritten rules in football that people follow, even though they're not actual rules.
At the end of
I think the same thing applies here. That
No.
I get it that it's an unwritten rule. I understand that it's not something that you should expect, but at the same time, it's like you're gonna random trade with someone. Don't fuck them over every time.
Even on the Wikipedia article, it says you're gonna get you should use wonder trading because it's awesome, but you're gonna get a lot of shit. So
yeah, I mean, sorry, Will. I would just abuse it like crazy, like Espo.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to me having all 3 of the starters in the game and the legendary from Y, and Will not, so he's kind of contemptive.
I mean, I see where you're coming from.
It's okay that Espo does this. I just don't find it okay that 50,000 Espos do this, and that's the case.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
It's okay if a few people do it. That's fine. I get it as long as the service overall is still good. But because so many people abuse it, it's just it's a wonderful feature that gets fucked over.
Hey, that's why they call it Wonder Trade.
Though? What would you expect with Wonder Trade? What do you really think?
Again, it's optional. Yeah. You don't have to use it. If Will never uses it, or if Will will be that guy that makes somebody happy by sending them a level 65 Lapras, and he gets a fletching in return, and that's fine.
Oh God,
that's fine, and that's the way it works.
I would quit Pokemon.
Well, hey, that's how it works. I mean,
oh God, that's sad. That's sad too. That's
there's no guarantee on both sides. So I mean,
oh yeah, there's never a guarantee. But not only that, but I also love just seeing the people from around the world that are playing this game. I've wonder traded with people from Australia, England.
I mean, is there parameters at all?
No,
nope. No. So you can just get a lower level Pokemon even if you trade it. Okay.
Oh yeah.
It's so they should have put some parameters on there, let's make them sort of the same level. Or rarity.
You could do that, but I mean, I've gotten some cool things from it. I really just like to get rid of Skidoos because
a level 50 Rattata.
Yeah, I got a level 30 Kakuna from somebody.
Oh God, you should kill them.
I was like, I guess I'll keep it. Sure. God. Level 30 Kakuna.
Level 30.
My favorites that I've gotten so far have been a Blastoise, the legendary Pokemon from Y, but the name was in Japanese, so I don't.
That's so dumb.
Know what it is. I've also gotten a bunch of Eevees. But Eevees you can just catch in this game, so it's not as special as the older
Isn't that
games.
actually kind of, now I'm thinking about it, isn't that kind of funny how they went from having the starter Pokemon on the covers to having all the legendaries?
Yes.
Right? Because the original ones...
True.
Yeah.
Well, only the original game. Only the original game had it, and there wasn't any legendary Pokemon in the original game. Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, those are and then Mewtwo was the big guy. But then once the second one happened, they had specific legendaries where, with Lugia and Ho-Ho. So then they started pimping that out. But, I still have my original box for Blue, and it's an awesome box with Beastoise. Really? Yeah, Blastoise. I still have my original Blue. I keep all my games. It's stupid. It's, at the end of the day...
That's not dumb. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, I found it a couple weeks ago, actually, when I was... I found a Game Boy Color, and Pokemon Blue was in the Game Boy Color, and I was like, oh, let's boot this up. And I was like, 63 Pokemon caught. I am shameful. And I was like, only 63. But I looked at it and I was like, oh, I remember these guys. I was like, I've been calling my Pikachu Chew Daddy since Pokemon Blue days.
Chew Daddy?
Oh my gosh.
It sounds like a website.
Chew Daddy.
Chew Daddy.
Like Chew? Like C-H-U.
Yep, Chew Daddy.
Oh, God.
Oh, I love Pikachu in this game. He's so good. Except I'm still tentative. I have to go online and see what the stat boosts are like, but I like Pikachu a lot more than I like Raichu, so I don't know if I'm going to Thunderstone him, because I just like looking at Pikachu. Because
at a certain point, you might want to, but the speed is going to go down.
You're going to stone your Pokemon?
Oh, dude. Hardcore. A lot of the Pokemon are interesting ways to evolve them now, because, sometimes, there's one where you have to do it at night with a dark Pokemon in your party. It has to reach this level at night when there's a dark Pokemon in your party to evolve. I was like, what? Another cool thing about Wonder
imagine
Trade...
if it was if it read GPS coordinates.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
You have to be
another cool thing about Wonder Trade is when I got some, somebody sent me a Haunter, and if you remember, Haunter, to get Gengar, it's a trade evolution. So when somebody sent me a Haunter, it evolved into Gengar, which was pretty cool. And then I think I was talking to Will, and I got a tree knot or a big tree ghost Pokemon. And, that evolved too because it was a trade, which is pretty cool because ghosts are trade evolutions. So I'm like, I love Wonder Trade. But before we talk any more about Pokemon X, because we're going to spend a lot more time talking about Pokemon X and Y, I want to get your experiences with the original Pokemon, Tyler.
Yeah, Yellow was my first one.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad just like I didn't even think I wanted it, or maybe I just like saw a commercial or something, but like my dad just like came in down like from work one day and just like plopped a lime green Game Boy Color and Pokemon Yellow in my lap, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've heard about this game.
Huh.
And I just played it like crazy. But it was funny because Yellow was my first, and I think I pretty much got every one past that except for Black and White and Black and White 2 or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
But Yellow was cool because like I think Pikachu was like the one I really wanted the Pikachu one because I knew my cousin had, I think he had blue or maybe it was red. I don't know. He had one of them and he had showed me and I thought it was like a really cool like game. I wasn't playing that many games then. But yeah, I got Yellow, and my dad played a lot of games too. So I think when I beat it, my dad actually played through Yellow himself.
It's also a very interesting barrier to entry for the RPG market because at the end of the day, people don't think about it when they play it. Like, kids aren't saying like, "Oh, I'm playing a hardcore RPG right now." I'm playing.
Yeah, it shows you the stats, which I'm noticing in the new ones. Like, it shows you the stats, but like, I don't know. I don't really know if I care that much about the stats like these Pokemon.
I care about the stats. Why is my Pikachu so weak? He's so weak, and he's like the same level as everybody else. He's like 35 or 36
but
right
that's
now.
That's the best thing is they have both the stats and like the elemental stuff to where like as a kid you can just know that like fire beats this.
Oh
like,
yeah.
You don't have to worry
now
about
there's
like
so
the
many.
stats.
There's so many now, and I have to constantly think in my head. I'm like, oh crap, this. And the thing is, when the original Pokemon game came out, the show had already been on for 2 years. Don't quote me. I think the show started in 96 or 97. So. But I knew all about Pokemon, so when somebody would send out a Geodude or like a Diglett, you're like, I know who these Pokemon really are. I know what type they are, so I know what used to beat them. Now I haven't. There are so many new Pokemon that I don't know what elements there are. So like, it's like I'm gonna send out a Zebazoob. I'm like, what type is Zebazoob? I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, he does it, and it turns out it's like a Thunder Pokemon, and I have my Froakie out. I'm like, shit, Zebazoob, Thunder. Remember that. So, so
yeah, one of the things I remembered from playing Gold. No, I think it was. Well, I had Gold and Silver. I don't know if you guys did.
Oh, Gold and Silver. Calm down, Mr. Moneybags.
Did you guys have both?
I had Silver.
Okay, because I remember playing Silver because those are the games I think I mentioned earlier. I was trading between them. I was trading between both of my. I had like 2 Game Boys and like 2 Gold and Silver.
That's kind of depressing.
I don't know why. Anyway, yeah, that is really depressing.
Hey, you ready to trade? And then you just run to the other side of your bed. Of course I am, friend.
Somehow,
run to the other side of your bed.
In Silver, I beat. What is the region that you go to after you like quote unquote beat Silver or Gold?
Kanto. Kanto. That's the original one. That's the red and blue one.
So I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, that was a cool secret. I didn't either.
Yeah, so like I played it and I beat it and like I think it was like probably like 3 or 4 years probably like 3 years later. I like found my strategy guide and like looked past the page that I'd always ended on and like blew my mind. I did not know there was a whole other part of that game.
And that's another reason why I'm a big fan of X right now, and I guess Y is in the same thing, because it's kind of like that element of surprise again where they're like, like that second starter. You're like,
yeah,
it's like,
I mean,
it's
that
really
got
cool.
spoiled for me immediately, but still, that's cool.
Yeah, I love it. So,
but imagine if you were a kid and like didn't know that you got to go back to or you get to have these other Pokemon or something. I mean, that's awesome.
For sure. So it seems like we've all been on the Pokemon bandwagon or the train since the original game. 15 years.
Okay, so actually, out of all the ones, even playing the new ones, I mean, you probably haven't completely formed an opinion on the new ones, but like, what would you say your favorite ones were? You guys seem to like Black and White, right?
I liked it.
Yeah, I didn't really spend a lot of time in Black and White. I just beat the story and I was basically done with it. I was, this one I'm taking my time with and really
so weird.
Leveling up. Well, Black and White had an interesting story.
That's so. How do you make an interesting story of a really like how absurd Pokemon?
Well,
is?
I just thought that Pokemon X's story is nothing to marvel about. It's Mega Evolutions. They're a thing.
Remember Pokemon?
They're like Mega Evolutions. Now go travel the world, get 8 badges, and find out what a Mega Evolution is. But in Black and White, it was sort of like PETA-esque, where the bad guys they had a philosophy where they didn't want the Pokemon to be in balls anymore. and they wanted them to be free and be like.
I thought that was very interesting.
I thought it was super interesting. I was like,
Yeah.
and now.
I mean, did they insinuate that being in the balls is bad? Like
yes.
other than being trapped?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yes.
should be freed, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, just
so
being
in
free.
some essence, they weren't really the bad guys. Well, they were because they wanted to use Pokemon still in like bad ways, but they just didn't want them to be in the balls. So it was an interesting conundrum. I mean, it's a lot better than fucking Team Flare. With that stupid...
It gets better.
Does it?
To my brother, it gets darker apparently.
Oh, does it?
Darker, so,
Team Flare always looking good with their all red. Yeah. So interesting, and yeah, Williams. We haven't answered this question yet, but what one do you tend to like? What was your favorite?
Ooh.
That's a tough question.
Yeah. My first thing that pops in my mind is Pokemon Gold. I think it was. Like that game was to me just the pinnacle of what you could do with Pokemon. Though I
had the mystery. It had really good mystery.
Yep.
It did. But the Team Rocket, the fact that they returned and shit, and like
yeah.
Right.
And the 16 badges contribute to it.
Yeah,
being able to go play the Kanto region again. Yeah,
I just really hated that. Like when you got to the Elite Four for the first time, your Pokemon were around level 40, so they were like very anemic and crappy.
Lance.
And it's kind of like, okay, I beat the Elite A. I beat Lance.
Lance was the man.
With his 4 Dragonites. His 3 Dragonites, a Charizard,
back in the day,
a Gyarados.
Back in the day when they weren't, there was nothing to beat
I don't
Dragon.
even remember.
Like you're
insane.
like, hey, Dragon types, you're pretty much fucked. But
with Gold for me, my friend did kind of the same thing with your Magmar. He gave me like a level 50 Luigi.
Luigi?
Ah, good.
Yeah,
Pokemon.
he gave me a level 50 Luigi, and it was really weird. No, Lugia, and like so I had a Lugia that I would just do fly. I would just keep hitting fly, and he would not obey me. But when he did, everybody would die in one hit.
Lugia was.
And
cool.
I went through the Elite Four with like 6 Lugias because he knew how to do the like duplicate trick.
Yeah, so
they
butchered
that
That's
movie.
awesome.
Yeah,
if
and like if you put items on them, you could duplicate the items too.
Pokemon
What you did is
2000.
just deposit. Before how it worked is you would deposit a Pokemon into your PC and it would save. And while it's saving, that's when you turn it off. And then when you turn it on, it's duplicated.
I have a question.
Awesome.
I have a question. Speaking about items in Pokemon, do any of you guys use Fling as an attack?
No.
Where you throw your item?
Hell no.
I'm like, what? Why? Why is that here? I'm like, I don't want to throw my Speed X.
For items that you don't need, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I guess so. And there are a lot of those, but again, I've changed my philosophy of how I play Pokemon. Like, I never would have done any of this stuff back in the day. Like, think about putting items on them, being like, well, like Pikachu, my Pikachu's all about speed, because Electric Ball, it does more damage based on how better your speed stat is compared to your opponent's.
Right.
So my Pikachu's all about speed because I want him to be super more quick. A lot faster than the Pokemon I face. So Electro Ball does a lot more damage. Like in my Harlucha, who's one of my favorite Pokemon of this generation. He's like a bird, like as a luchador. Awesome.
I just beat one. So annoying.
He's so cool. And he has a move not called Encore. I forgot what it was called. Something with a B. But what it does is it does the amount. The damage is your health, which is awesome. Because my Harlucha.
Oh wait, back up. Hold on. The damage is your health. What are you talking about?
So it's only a 5.
So the damage is based off your health.
Yeah, so it's
like,
only
number.
a 5 out of 5. So it's I'll probably forget it eventually. But so my Harlucha is all about having a lot of health. So he's like at 140 health already. So that move is one of the best moves in the game right now because it does 140, and I haven't come close to a Pokemon that has 140 HP yet.
That's an interesting attack.
It's very interesting. But again, my Harlucha, I'm focusing... It's a normal move, and eventually I want him to have flying and fighting moves, so I might forget it as it goes on and, focus... But that's more for endgame, so after I beat the story and everything...
That goes real deep into this.
Yeah, after the endgame, I'll probably focus on that and do that. And I just met these 2 new Pokemon. I guess they're like the Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan of this generation, but like one's blue and one's red. I don't know if you've gotten to this area yet, but
I got into that?
I did.
they're awesome. It's the cave. I'm in Mirror Cave, so it's in between the second city and the third city, or the second gym and the third gym. And it's like a fighting Pokemon thing. And that's really my MO this time, is like I said, duality and a blank element of fighting. So, I'm like, oh, fighting Pokemon, I'm going to catch you. And then I'm not going to trade you at Wonder Trade because I want to keep you. So...
Do you guys ever, replay the Pokemon games?
To an extent. I guess it depends. Like, Black and White, I didn't really replay it that much, to be honest with you. I just left it there.
I mean, those games kind of, other than maybe experiencing the trainer on trainer battles, there's not much reason to restart.
No,
I mean, it's not, nothing changes really. I mean, you could have a different Pokemon, I guess.
None at all.
Actually, what am I talking about? I bet there's a lot of people that go through the game with certain builds and certain elemental. I think somebody was talking about going through with there's monkeys in this game.
Yep.
Are they going through with only them or something? So I'm sure there's probably a lot of ways you could. I guess I just never do.
That would be interesting. I remember when I was younger, my favorite thing to do was do an Eevee team. So now they have 8 evolutions of Eevee, which is ridiculous. I mean, back in the day, we had good old Vaporeon.
How many were there before? Yeah, 4 or something.
There's Flareon, Jolteon, Vaporeon. Those were the originals.
Yeah,
then they added Umbreon, which is dark.
Yeah.
And the psychic one, Espeon. Then they added Glaceon and Leafeon, who are Leaf and Ice. And now this one is Sylveon, yeah, and it's Fairy, which brings me to an interesting topic. They added a new element, first time since they added Steel a few generations back, but Fairy. So basically what Fairy is, it's okay, we know Dragon's a bitch, so now we're going to bring Fairy to at least combat them a little bit. Even though Ice is good against Dragon, it's still great to see that, now there's another element, Fairy, which is interesting because Fairy is also strong against fighting. So my strategy right now is in between the second and third city. The third city gym leader, you've met her 12 times already. She's on rollerblades and she uses Lucarios. And she's like, I'm better than you. And that's whenever you see her. And she's like, you're going to fight me soon. But she uses fighting Pokemon. So I already have my Hawlucha. And flying is super effective against fighting. So I have him. And then what I did was I got an Eevee. And I did which will bring us into another topic in a second, but in order to get Sylveon, you need to have the highest affection rating from Pokemon-Ami, which is the mini-game petting simulator thing. So, I took my time. It took me about an hour. I was just watching football today, and I was, playing the mini-games and petting Eevee, and I was like, yes, Sylveon. And you also have to have a Fairy-type move, so you have to teach Eevee a Fairy-type move. And then
so much stuff just to get it a Sylveon.
Yeah, but I wanted a Fairy-type Pokemon, and the amount of Flaw Babies I got from freaking Wonder Trade, I did not want Flaw Baby in my party. So I was like, I want Sylveon. So I got Sylveon, and I was excited. I'm like, yes, now I have a good Fairy-type Pokemon. Which, and then again, for my Wonder Trade, I got a bunch of things. So, my party, I have the 3 starters from this game. My Torchic, who's now Blaziken, Hawlucha. And then I have a rotating 6 that I use. Right now it's Sylveon. Before it was Pikachu. And, I'm sure Pikachu will make a comeback because Electric are really...
Pikachu sucks so far.
Yeah, it does because I don't know how, but its attack is so low. And it pisses me off because I'm like, you are a flying-type Pokemon. I am a Thunder-type Pokemon. I should be able to one-hit you because I'm higher level than you. Nope. I'm like, that's stupid. Stupid game. A huge thing you need, though, in this game is False Swipe, which brings them down to 1 HP. That's going to be really big for when you get to the legendaries and stuff like that to catch them. So you can get down to 1 HP, but yeah, it's cool. So, Pokemon X! Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's start really talking about it, since we haven't.
So, each one of us went the X route, right?
Nope.
I did.
Tyler, you went Y?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I thought you went X.
Yeah, I said I was getting whatever you guys don't.
Oh, okay, cool. So,
different.
Yeah, there's really nothing different as of yet.
I actually like the Y legendary Pokemon, the look of the legendary Pokemon.
It looks like a flying Groudon. Sort of.
Yeah, I guess kind of, yeah.
Groudon was awesome. If you went Sapphire, you were wrong. Because Groudon was cool.
Yeah,
I did go Sapphire.
Well, you're wrong. Because Groudon was cool.
Well, Blue Guy was cool, too. I don't remember his name.
Kroger.
Blue Guy.
Yeah.
Also, I love you guys both, but going gold over Lugia I mean, Psychic.
No, I liked Silver. I mean, I got Silver
Lugia
first.
was awesome. He was so cool.
But Ho-Oh or whatever, I like that he's in like the first episode of Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I just remembered him, and that's why I got it. I was like, I remember that guy.
Yeah,
and
you know, it was one of the new Pokemon. But you know, in the first ever Pokemon, you're like, they think he's that far ahead. Ho-Oh.
Or they forgot.
Yeah, it was cool. I remember when the first movie came out, and they had like that 15-minute mini movie in the front that introduced the first new Pokemon. It was Donphan. He looked like a little elephant armadillo thing.
Yeah, that was kind of silly.
That was pretty cool. And then you got Pokemon cards too. You got
wasn't it like Pichu and Pikachu?
You got Ancient Mew, the Pokemon card when you went to see the movie.
Right, I remember that. Yeah, you got a card when you went to.
That was
the
a good
Digimon
movie
too.
I like the first Pokemon movie. Second one sucked.
I just said Digimon in this Pokemon podcast.
Oof. I like Digimon too when I was younger.
Pokecast. I almost called it.
There haven't really been.
It basically is a Pokecast with Espo here. He's crazy.
There haven't really been too many good Digimon games.
I haven't played any Digimon games.
Digimon World was weird. It was so hard when I was a kid. I didn't understand any of it. Like it was so Japanese of a game. I was like, this is I don't understand.
Yeah, you're right. Most of them were pretty Japanese.
I was like, I don't understand.
It's weird because like
they pooped.
The Pokemon games are like like they are Japanese, but it's funny when you play them like as a little kid, it's just like that doesn't matter. Like you just don't care.
First thing I want to bring up about X, and I want to get your sentiments on it, is difficulty. I think they nerfed this game a lot. Like it is.
The Pokemon game's been easy though.
It's easily the easiest Pokemon game.
It's like a tough series, you know.
Yes and no. This one is. It basically holds your hand, and they know they're holding your hand. Like, hey, you chose this. Hey, we're gonna give you another starting Pokemon. But even more than that, it's like, hey, right in the first city, we're gonna give you Rollerblade so you can move around faster. And,
I think that's convenient.
And the big one, the big one, is we're gonna give you XP share in the first city.
Convenience, not ease. I think.
Well, then again,
I guess it depends. Like if you're a veteran,
this
maybe
is easily the most convenient Pokemon game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're a veteran, you might come at it like saying like this is a lot of easy like I remember when I had to like work for these things and get a bicycle and get the running shoes.
I love XP
but yeah, like XP share, it's like this. Why wasn't it here before? Like this is amazing. Like
so good.
I mean, it does kind of just like put a band-aid over the idea of like having to switch out your Pokemon, which was always a tedious thing, and they even still tell you to do that in this one. But like I don't know, I feel like that stuff is. If it wasn't there, I kind of would be complaining. Well, like that stuff should be there.
XP Share still wants you to switch your Pokemon because how it works is your first one gets 100% of the experience.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
And then everybody else is 50.
Because you seem like you would.
So I mean that's good, and it'll level up a lot.
It's really funny when like it's just like got the battle music going on, and then all your Pokemon are leveling, and I'm just breaking up the music. It's
yeah.
Right.
The thing about XP Share though, which is also interesting, is they don't show you the stat increases when your Pokemon level up through XP Share.
Yeah, they don't.
So just if your Pokemon levels up as you use him, other than that,
but you're a crazy person and you care.
They don't show it. Well, yeah, I do care about stats. Not so much all the stats, but I really want. Because, again, even to this day, my philosophy of Pokemon has changed drastically, like I said before, but still to this day, I can't find uses for moves like Tail Whip and Growl and Sandstorm, and they're there, and if you're a super hardcore battler, like I know somebody that plays Pokemon competitively, hopefully I'll interview him eventually, but, talking to him about those kind of moves, they're like, vital. Like you need those moves when you play.
Yeah, I always thought they would be, but I just don't use them.
The biggest one is Rock Feint or something, where you throw rocks out, and whenever your Pokemon switches out, your opponent switches Pokemon, it hurts them. That's huge in competitive battles. Like people have Pokemon in their parties just so they can get that move off, and then they're basically a throwaway character.
That part's like the most amazing part about Pokemon is how deep the like simple mechanics they have can go. Like, I mean, they're not simple when you start like looking at them past like the elemental stuff, like I was saying earlier. It's just crazy how these games can like kind of adapt to like or be like both crowds can like it. Competitive people like there's tournaments and stuff, and then just like kids, like young children.
Yeah, it's awesome, and you have also
like
the
what
collector.
What game can really do that? Like that's almost like a Pixar sort of like game,
Call of Duty.
Like, yeah, Call of Duty. I guess you're right.
They're like basically tournament games, right? For the most part.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even. But that's the funny thing too is like the multiplayer, like Call of Duty. Not very many people play like the single player, but like a lot of people play the single player of the Pokemon games. But of course, like the tournament stuff is always multiplayer. But
Yeah, for sure.
like you can still get really deep with the single player. You can't really do that with a Call of Duty.
Also, not as many. You don't have a rival in this one.
Yeah, that's weird.
You,
Like they kind of
the fat guy.
do. I mean, they have an excuse to fight somebody at the beginning, but yeah, you don't really have a
I
rival,
hope-
and you also don't meet the professor right away.
I hope Espo gets a little, action later, because there's this one scene, like, maybe you get a girlfriend or something. I was like, because, like, you're on the balcony and fireworks are going off. And
Yeah, that was
the
interesting.
girl looks over to you and she goes,
That was
Spoilers,
really
you guys.
interesting.
she goes,
Yeah.
I've never seen fireworks with...
You guys are both playing a male, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you playing a
I
female?
wonder what that's like if you play.
Oh,
a female.
yeah. I've never had a boyfriend before. But it's like, man, I've never watched fireworks with a boy before. I was like, what?
Whoa, that's a line.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
line.
that's literally a line, and like you,
Huh.
it's just you and her. And
One of my
it's
favorite
just like-
lines is the
That's
sneak in the
weird.
9,000. You fight a random
Yeah,
psychic
yeah.
trainer, and he's like, man, your guys are so strong. Their power's over 9,000.
Do you feel like that's kind of weird for a Pokemon game to sort of like
No,
take culture and like?
I
think that's kind of weird.
Have you ever looked
Like
at the
Pokemon's
TVs?
always
Have you ever,
Pokemon kind of lives in its own space.
if you watch the TVs, the shows are the best.
The shows are horrible and like hilarious. They're just stupid. They're so bad. Did you watch them, Will?
what the TV
The-
show?
Yeah, the TV shows.
Oh, yeah, of
No, not
course.
the TV, not the Pokemon TV show. I'm talking about the TV shows in the game.
Oh no, God no! I
Oh,
heard
they're hilarious.
awful. Oh.
They're hilarious. You gotta watch them. They're really stupid.
Why even
It's like a bunch of people just wrote them in Nintendo and like just like or what I guess Game Freak and then just like left them. They're really stupid. Like nobody looked over them. Like they're all like kind of like vague like learning things to teach you about like how the game works, but they're all really horrible.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's pretty funny.
They are pretty bad.
Do you guys actually hunt around for the like Pokeballs that are like hidden around and have items in them? Like do you go out of your way to get those?
If I see it,
Wait.
I'll go grab one. You know, just
You
like a
don't,
random
you're not, like,
item.
a completionist? Okay. Because I make sure to get all of those. Like there were some pretty good hidden ones in gold or gold and silver if I remember
Oh
right.
yeah, they were.
Like I used a strategy guide for that game and like there was a lot of really hard ones to get to.
Jeez.
But yeah, and this one's actually funny too because I don't know if the other ones do, but this one lets you like get close to like Victory Road or like it like kind of teases you.
Yeah,
with-
and
yeah.
they don't let you go past it. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's kind of weird like to have that
It's
there. I mean, it makes sense for you to sort of like, oh, wonder what that is.
I
but-
mean, technically they had it in red and blue too, but the thing is, you had to use cut to even get
Yeah.
there. So I guess
Right.
they kind of nulled it
Yeah.
a bit, but still, like it was there. It was right there.
There's also
Do they have the like weird? I heard there was like ghost stories or something in this new one, like kind of like a little mystery you can solve. Like there's characters that show up and then like disappear.
oh,
I don't know. It's I heard on like on a NeoGaf, but like just like that kind of stuff. Like as a kid, that stuff was really amazing to like find like these like.
Oh, yeah,
time-sensitive
Missing No.
events. Yeah, that. Yeah, I never did that myself.
That
but,
one was creepy.
Yeah.
That's just like a glitch, basically.
yeah.
well, there's also, the original Pokemon had some really cool set pieces, like the Ghost Tower with the Cubone, and like you got to the top and it was Marowak because it was like the Marowak died and the Cubone was.
I like
waiting for its mom.
the Gyarados one in gold or silver when you're like in that lake and you're saving the lake.
Oh, the Red
And
Gyarados.
you have to,
Yeah, that was cool. There was some cool set pieces. I haven't gotten to.
And even the like ancient like mansion or whatever it's called with the Ho-Oh in it, like
Yeah,
in-
that's
in
cool.
gold.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
Like just creepy stuff with the unknown Pokemon.
Again, Williams has heard that it gets a little bit better, but right now it's, hey friend, hey there's a tip about a Mega Evolution in this city. So, but while you're there, fight the gym leader because that's what you do in Pokemon. That's the story right now, which is fine.
I mean, this one has a lot of changes, but do you feel like they're sort of grasping for innovation or grasping for new things, like Mega Evolutions? Like that's a pretty, I don't know, it doesn't seem like a very inspired change.
I think they're cool. I mean, when that's one of the logical steps.
I mean, actually,
They've
you know what?
already
I don't
done
know.
it. They've technically already done it, but they
Yeah.
did it in the reverse
Yeah.
order. So, like, Meryl was a standard Pokemon for a while. Then when the next generation came out, or I think 2 generations later, like, they did baby Pokemon. So, like, Azumarill, Pichu goes to Pikachu. And now they're just like, okay, so we did it that way, let's do it the other way. And
I guess when I said it wasn't inspired, I mean like as a tournament play, that's probably pretty cool. Like having the ability to like just power up your Pokemon sort of randomly in a fight. That's cool. But like it's just like regularly playing the game, I just don't know how much it changes.
I just like that Charizard's finally Dragon type if you play Pokemon X.
He wasn't before.
No, he needed to be
Oh,
Dragon type. Charizard.
Oh yeah, Charizard. Yeah,
Charizard.
Mega Evolve, he turns dragon.
He's like flying and fire and
Finally, he
Y.
realizes his potential.
The guys.
I had
look
like a
lot cooler.
Charizard plushie. Did you guys? Or am I just weird?
Seriously?
Yeah, I had like a big
Pokemon.
Charizard.
Charizard was awesome.
I had a really big Charizard, like
Well, as
like,
almost as
stuffed
much as
animal thing.
Pikachu was a face of Pokemon, Charizard was too, especially for the card game. Because that original
yeah.
Charizard was like
Yeah.
super expensive, and it's like
Yeah, everyone was.
it does 100 damage, and you're like, fuck
I
you,
have like
Charizard.
some Pokemon like Japanese card that's worth.
Guys,
like,
I'm getting a
$50 or
Charizard
something.
decal for my 3DS.
That's cool. But yeah, I think the Mega
Just
Evolutions
wanted
are
to
cool.
throw that out there.
I haven't gotten to any Mega Evolutions because I think it's a story point where you finally get
Probably.
able to Mega Evolve. But one of the really cool things was, one of the things I didn't like about Pokemon Red and the Pokemon TV show was, or technically it would actually be Red and Blue because it didn't follow the show because the show came before.
Yeah.
But they just released a new anime called Pokemon Origins, and it was only 4 episodes, but it's the events of the Game Boy game.
You made it sound so nasty. Can you repeat that?
Pokemon Origins.
There we go.
It's basically the story of the Game Boy game, which is super. Oh wow, that ball bounced off the guy's helmet for a touchdown. Sorry.
That's a weird Pokemon.
Yeah, it's a weird
thing.
Pokemon. But it's the Game Boy game. So, and not only that, but it helped me visualize a lot of stuff. Like when I was a little kid, and you got like HM35, I was like, what is this? I was like, I never understood what it was. But it like in the show, they show you what it is and like how an HM works, how you teach the Pokemon that move. They talked about that ghost tower, which was, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I remember you had to get the scope because you couldn't see the ghost Pokemon. And then at the top of the tower there was the Marowak, but I didn't really understand it. But now there's like the story about how the Marowak died protecting the little Cubone, and the Cubone was sad. And I was like, it just fleshed stuff out. So I'm watching it, and I'm like, yep, this is all right. Giovanni was a D-bag. Now we fight him. He's got the Rhyhorn and Fissure. Okay. And then they end it, like the last episode, they go, what's your Pokedex like, bro? He's like, 149. He goes, there's one Pokemon left.
Oh,
and
no.
you go to Mewtwo, and he fights Mewtwo, and then Charizard Mega evolves into Charizard X. I was like, wait a second. I was like, this didn't happen in Pokemon Red and Blue. So it was like such a cool, like, I was not expecting that at all. I was like, tied into the new series. I'll allow it.
Now you gotta go buy it to play as
basically.
Charizard.
But yeah, I'm super excited for the Mega Evolutions, and Mewtwo X, Charizard X. There's a bunch of them, and
I mean, it's kind of interesting that you guys said that Black and White did a little bit more with the story, because as a kid, I just didn't really care that much. Like the story enough for me was just beating the trainers and getting the cool Pokemon and watching them evolve.
I found that people are very generous in Pokemon X. Like you talk to a random person, it's like, oh hey, take this, take this, take this.
Yeah. Here, have this, and like, oh, here's this other version of this item that you should learn about now. Like, yeah. I don't know. I like some of the stuff they're doing, like, to make it convenient in Pokemon X and Y, but I just feel like, I don't know, some of it is, I guess, I don't know. It's like coming from the series before, some of it does feel like how are they going to make, like, because getting the bicycle was a really cool moment in the series. For me, like every game, it was really fun to get to all of a sudden to be able to go faster and stuff. But now, like, what are they going to replace that with?
Rollerblades.
Like coming from where all these these amazing moments in the game is just like, what are they doing now for that stuff, or is it just not there? And maybe that's just not as important anymore to people who play those games. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, like I wonder who. I'm trying to imagine like the kid that's playing X and Y as like his first Pokemon game. Like, what would that be like?
Yeah, agreed. Even the getting their starters. I mean, in the original one, you went to the professor and he, talked about it. Then you met your rival there. Now that fat guy just had him in his pocket. He's like, "Hey, you want to start a Pokemon?"
Yeah, it's not like this momentous moment where it's like you are the chosen one to use. Like it's just like, hey, we found.
What happens at the end of the game if it just revealed that you're multiple personality disorder and that fat guy is like your split personality, and that's why he's always there when you least expect him. You're like, how are you here again? Like, I'm in a cave in the middle of nowhere right now, and I turned around and he was there. He's like, hey man, there's something called Flash. I was like, why do they still have Flash? Nobody ever uses Flash.
That was so arbitrary.
But yeah, that guy. I want to ask you guys parties. Like, what are you guys rocking with right now? What Pokemon do you got in your party right now?
Ooh, God.
I am not that far, so I just.
Oh yeah,
have,
let's
like,
talk about where we are
yeah.
too. I mentioned it early. I'm in between the second gym and the third gym. So Mirror Cave, it's called. Williams, what about you?
I'm in Reflection Cave.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
it. Reflection
you guys
Cave.
are way deeper than
Reflection
Yeah.
Cave. That's it. Oh, Williams.
Yeah,
we're at the same
I
spot.
just like beat the first gym leader.
Oh,
so.
the first gym leader.
Yeah, I haven't had time to play that.
The
much.
longest
But yeah,
stretch is between the first and the second gym. So
Is it?
there's a bunch of stuff to do before the first and the second gym, and then they speed up. Like I'm in this cave, and then once I get out of the cave, it's the third gym. And it was not like that between the first and second one. You get to ride a Rhyhorn before you get to the second gym, though.
They keep saying that, and I'm like, this better happen. This
It does.
writing stuff.
The
Yeah.
controls are not very good, but it does happen.
You guys playing in 3D?
No,
No.
it's non-existent.
Neither.
There's no 3D.
It's not 3D until the battles.
Yeah,
I think.
it's non-existent.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
smart
it's a
for them to
3D
make the
world, but
2DS.
it's not- Yeah.
Because this game really flourishes on regular 2D, but yeah, it's non-existent.
Do you find the actual 3D, not 3D like perspective, but like the actual 3D graphics? Do you find those like add anything?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Awesome. Lumoy City, I forgot what the city's called. It looks so cool, like just like the camera angles, like when you take on certain routes.
It's weird.
I was like,
yeah.
this is weird. It's cool.
And
I
like
like it.
when
though.
you first wake up in that room, it's so weird to see that room like rendered in 3D. It just freaks me out.
Yeah.
But I mean, like they kind of did some of that, right? You could like walk behind houses and stuff in like.
Yeah, but not like
PS
this.
ones?
Like the camera angles, like
No, I
it's
mean,
really
yeah,
cool.
no.
Williams, what Pokemon do you have in your party right now?
God. I have.
I have a bunch of random caught
let's see.
ones.
You chose
I have
Froakie,
Charmander.
right?
Yeah, I chose Froakie. I'm in the second evolution for Froakie. Tyrant, I picked the dinosaur fossil.
Oh yeah.
I picked the sword.
Oh.
Honedge. I have a Skiddo. Yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa. You
Yeah.
haven't Wonder Traded
Uh-huh.
it yet?
No. These are I old trained these, so suck it.
Oh boy.
And I have Curlia, like the evolved form of Ralts.
Oh wow.
And yeah.
So
I have like sets.
So what are your do you have like a philosophy? Do you like to, do you guys think about this? I mean, I think about it, but like do you guys think about like having like different Pokemon in your party to combat different stuff, or is it enough that hey, my Froakie's like 5 levels better than anybody I'm ever going to fight, so he should be able to take out everybody?
I mean, all Pokemon are like different types, obviously. So
Mhm.
whatever situation I confront with, I can deal with for the most part. Except if I'm dealing with flying Pokemon, I don't really have much of a strong thing against flying Pokemon.
Yeah,
but
flying Pokemon's a tough one.
yeah, it's balanced.
Some of them are. I mean, fucking Ghost barely nobody. Normal's really the best one. I mean, only fighting's strong against normal. Nothing else is super effective against normal.
No, except fighting.
Only
Wait,
fighting.
super effective against normal. Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
though. That's it.
Flying, you got electric, ice, and rock are super effective against flying. That's it. Well, that's enough. I
Jesus.
mean, that's a lot actually.
And electric.
Yeah, electric, ice, and rock are super effective against flying. I have this handy chart now that I use, and of course,
I used to use a chart.
and
Just
still
use
dragon,
Siri.
still
Just use
dragon.
Siri.
It's like, hey,
Just use Siri.
fuck you,
You're
it's still
crazy.
dragon. It's like we're still dragons. So but yeah, that's interesting. And
Are you using Siri, Will?
Not yet, though. Not yet. But no. But Wolfram Alpha said that they're gonna add the Pokemon. What just happened?
Oh.
His headset fell.
He got taken in by the Pokemon.
Oh, no, I put it in my mouth.
He got swallowed by the Wonder Trading.
oh no, I put it in my mouth because I'm using iPhone headphones,
That's terrible.
so I bit it. Tyler, what are you rocking? What Pokemon are you rocking in your party? You did not choose Froakie.
This is a bad question because I did not pay attention. I just started catching all the Pokemon I found.
That's fine. That's one way to go. But you did not choose Froakie. You choose Fennekin, right? Fennec?
Yep.
How's Fennekin
Fennekin.
going?
Fennekin. Well, she leveled up, or she? I guess this is she. I don't know. Leveled up to, or evolved to whatever the other one, Broixus or something like that.
Yeah, that's an interesting combo.
really
You're going to be
creepy.
Fire Psychic. That's cool.
Yeah, That's actually pretty cool.
Back in the
I don't know, like, it's
9th
funny because you asked Will if he is gonna, like, if he's been leveling up all the other Pokemon, which is something I actually don't usually do. I'm really bad. I
Well,
just do the one.
XP
but
share, you don't even have to bother.
yeah, so there's that, and then also I'm gonna start actually switching. I just haven't got far enough to actually really do some like leveling up for different.
Everybody
Pokemon,
just hit that sweet 36 level, so they all evolved in their final forms, except Charmeleon. He's 35, and it's just, I'm waiting. I'm ready. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for Charizard to be back in my life.
Everybody's always waiting on Charmeleon.
I'm ready for Charizard to be back in my life. And then when he becomes Charizard X, I'm going to be like, oh my god, this is why I played this game. This one moment.
I just imagine like Espo playing this with like romantic music on, waiting for Charizard.
Waiting for Charizard, a new romantic, romantic comedy. Waiting for Charizard. But oh man, when Charizard X comes, it's going to be awesome. No, really, I really just Pokemon's a good game where, especially because a lot of times I just level or Wonder Farm, but I'm just leveling. So football was on all day, so I just had football on, and I was just sitting on the couch playing Pokemon all day. Which
that's actually one thing I want to touch on. Like these games, like you're just mentioning, playing it while doing something else. Like it's funny if you think about it. Like other than some of the main or some of the other like little like offshoots Pokemon games, they're all mobile games. Like they're all on like the handheld systems. Like, do you think?
Well.
Like, do you think that makes sense?
Well, the most contributing factor to that was originally it came out in Japan, and the mobile market in Japan is exponentially larger than the home console market.
Right, that makes sense. But, like, wouldn't you... I mean, it's funny that we just never really see... Other than... What was that Pokemon, like, Arena-like game that was on...
Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of like it, but, like, it's funny that we just don't ever see them... I mean, these games make a lot of money, so why wouldn't they?
They also have those
on,
really
like,
shitty mystery dungeon games for the DS, too.
Because think about it, like, if it was on the Wii U, that would be a pretty, like, cool game for the Wii U. Like, people would buy it.
Yeah, they would, but I think Pokemon lends itself to being on a handheld, because you can play it anywhere.
I do too. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't require that much like thought. Like you pretty much just do.
Now, when the inevitable evolution, see what I did there? When the inevitable evolution comes of a Wii U slash, I think Pokemon would be a perfect game for the Wii U because you could put it on your tablet. So if you're using the restroom or you can basically do. Well, you can basically do what I'm doing now. Like that's what the Wii U's for, basically. So I can be watching TV and playing the game on my tablet, and the asynchronous play of, okay, I'm done playing it on my Wii U, time to take my Charizard to my 3DS version, and so I can play it on the road. I mean, that would be awesome. Awesome. I mean, this is the closest thing we'll get to a Pokemon MMO, too, because there's a lot of MMO-type stuff going on.
There's like that, isn't there, there's like a fan-made MMO right now, isn't there?
I think so.
But
the battles are fun. Crap. The O-Powers. Will, I'm a nice person. I use my O-Powers all the time. So they're... O-Powers are just buffs you can use to help other trainers. So I can be like, not...
Oh, so you're making up for your sins.
Basically. I'm trying to get into Pokemon heaven. So, I'm like, yeah, I'll give this guy O-Power X Attack. Raleigh in Vermont. You get X Attack, so your attacks are stronger. It's cool stuff.
All right, so you guys have played both an X and Y, I guess one of those. I guess both of you have played X, right? So, I mean... You've played all the other Pokemon games. Do you feel like where could Pokemon go from here? Like what can they like? Should they focus more on story? Should they have like even a better story, or should they just go deeper into adding like mega evolutions? Like where does it go?
Honestly, I don't think improving the story would help at all.
Yeah.
I don't think it's needed either.
I agree.
Because you see a lot of adults still playing Pokemon, but at the end of the day, it's kids who's buying this most, and they don't give a crap about story. They care.
Yeah,
about
and then like the tournament
gameplay.
players don't care either.
Yeah,
I assume
they care about the gameplay. So
exactly. At the end of the day, and this would be completely antithetical of when I was younger, because as soon as like the next tier Pokemon came out, I was like, Pokemon's stupid. Why is there like 800 of them now? But at the end of the day, what it really comes down to now is having thoughtful, well-designed Pokemon, so the next generation, they'll hopefully be good as well. And
do you feel like they're bloated at all with all these Pokemon
engaging mechanic where, an engaging mechanic where at the end of the day, you go to YouTube and you can see competitive battles over Wi-Fi and stuff like that. I think that's where it goes. And bloated-wise, I think, I can definitely see that coming too. I mean, there's 700 plus now, and that's absurd.
I mean, could you see them just like sort of rebooting? Taking it back down to zero?
I've learned very early on in the video game industry, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I don't think they're going to do that anytime soon.
And also, here's this: like, what happens if the 3DS is the last handheld? Where does it go?
I really don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
What if it
either.
was? Like, let's just imagine it was.
What if Half-Life
What do you
3
think?
came out
Do you-
tomorrow?
Do you think Pokemon still exists after if a handheld didn't if Nintendo didn't have a handheld?
Yes.
Yeah,
Too big of a brand.
Nintendo's too stupid
Yeah,
to
that-
be like, okay, you know, it's gonna live with Nintendo consoles. It's gonna die with
Yep.
consoles. I think that at some point, if that ever happens, they're gonna be like, okay, we have to sell this elsewhere now.
But I'm glad that's not
It's-
now.
It's still a property that makes a lot of money. That's the
Mhm.
important thing.
Yeah, I mean, how much did it make in like the first
A lot.
week? Or
We
something
don't
like
know,
that?
but
Crazy?
it sold 4 million copies in the first 2 days.
Woo.
Yes, I mean, yeah, there's no reason. I mean, even if
damn.
Nintendo just released a handheld
Take
for
that,
the
GTA.
Pokemon games.
I have it downloaded too on my 3DS, so I'll always have it, which is nice, you know.
How did the 2DS do? Because that launched on the same day.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
we
They
don't
don't
haven't
have sales
released numbers
figures.
yet.
Because that's worrying. I wonder that they're not
figure
posting
out,
it.
I suppose if they don't release any, we'll know by next month with the MPD numbers.
Yeah, but if they don't release any, that means that it probably wasn't a great number. I mean, we don't know, but like that's usually they like to boast that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
If it sells like a lot in the first 2 days, for example, but
Mhm.
like they'll probably come
That's
up
what
with,
I mean.
Hey, it's
Well, I
sold a
thought maybe
million
it'd do
the
really
first
good with a Pokemon game right next to it.
Yeah.
theoretically.
You know what?
They should
No
have
matter
bundled
what
it.
they
They
are,
never bundled
no matter
it.
what they are, I am glad Pokemon still exists because it makes me feel like a kid again when I play it, and I'm, you know,
And we've all grown up with it. It's an immense nostalgia.
exactly 100%. And you know, when the next one comes out, I hope I'm fortunate enough to still be in contact with you guys so we can do another show about it. But you know, now I'm just gonna say the Pokemon rap with all 700 Pokemon. So.
Nope,
Oh.
we're ending it here. Halloween is coming up, so next week we're going to talk about some of the scariest moments we've had while playing games. And hey, we have a website. It's conditionpodcast.wordpress.com. We're also on Twitter at conditioncast. And we have a Facebook page at facebook.com/conditionpodcast. If you have things you want to tell us, maybe a topic for a future podcast, email them to conditionpodcast@gmail.com. That's conditionpodcast@gmail.com. Oh, and don't fret, we'll be on iTunes soon. This was the first episode of The Condition, a brand new podcast about video games. Thanks for listening.